This clock has been in her family for many years and was given to the guest by her godmother. The clock is French, comes in neoclassical forms, is made from bronze, and has maintained its original finish. It has a bronze statue on a slate base, and the dial has porcelain cartouche numbers. However, there's no marking on it to indicate who the maker is, which is not unusual. The clock dates from 1850, which means it is a running clock cast made by a Paris-made movement, and this indicates that the people who cast the case are different from those who made the mechanism. Furthermore, the winding key is kept on the sword of the statue, named Athena, the goddess of war and wisdom. At the back of this piece is an arch, which when opened would give access to the bell and mechanism inside. Although the bell has been replaced due to its fragility, it doesn't decrease the value of this piece. Therefore, the retail value of this piece would
probably be in about the $4,000 to $4,500 range.
Delightful.
Memorabilia from World War II, collected by medical personnel on a rescue mission to Hiroshima, is brought in for appraisal. These artifacts, which were originally in a house, were collected in Hiroshima after the bomb blast. They were badly affected by the fire, and it's believed that the glass melted and formed onto the pieces due to the intensity of the fire. These artifacts convey a lot of mixed feelings, sorrow and pity for those who lost their lives in the explosion. Such artifacts are meant to be placed in museums where their stories can be shared. However, on the market, these pieces would be valued at.
A retail price for these on the market would be between $2,000 and $3,000.
The guest brought in an old clock she received from her great-aunt before she died. It is known as a novelty clock made by the Oswald Company in Germany. Oswald Company made several forms of novelty clocks with carved wooden cases, like genies, Scotty dogs, and owls. This piece is a rare form, and it looks like a fox or dog, and on the back is the date of the patent, which is 1926, plus a writing, patented in USA, made in Germany. It wasn't made with jewels like recent clocks because it's a novelty. The two eyes of the object revolve to tell the given hours and the minutes of the day. Hence, it's difficult to read the time on this model. Moreover, the case is carved in a basic form, without details, and is inexpensive, but it is well loved. A little damage is noticed around the ears, but it doesn't affect the value due to its rarity. Most of the dog and owl forms sell in the range of $350 to $550. However, a good clock at auction, this piece would easily sell for.
Would easily bring $1,000 to $1,200.
Wow, amazing. Who would have thought the old dog was...
For doll collectors and enthusiasts, the name Jumeau evokes a sense of nostalgia and admiration. The guest brought onto the show a doll that was manufactured in France by the Jumeau Doll Company in 1870. The doll was given to the guest's great-grandmother by her grandmother and has been in the family ever since.
My great-grandmother would have been 8 years old about that time, and it was a Christmas present. I played with the doll, and now she's mine.
Dolls like this were made for children to play with, and this particular doll is called Portrait Jumeau. It is characterized by its separately applied ears, paperweight eyes, and original wig. Another interesting feature of this doll is that it comes with extra clothes, such as a beautifully crafted silk dress.
In this piece, as these two are not quite as elaborate as this piece.
The doll also possesses a pocketbook, along with an embroidered handkerchief. A doll like this, with all its accessories intact, and also made by Jumeau, would be valued at.
It would be between $7,000 and $8,000.
Wonderful.
The guitar belonged to the guest's husband, who bought it in Milwaukee and started getting celebrities to autograph it in the 1960s. In front of it are two beautifully detailed designs, and it was made by the Cray Company in Chicago, Illinois, around the mid-1940s. The guitar has an ash top and sounds good even with the leather on it. However, an amazing aspect of this piece is the autographs of musical stars on it. Some of the autographs are of popular artists, including Hank Thompson, Tommy Smith, Dolly Parton, and others. Moreover, if the guitar were without the leather and autograph, it would be valued at $300 to $350, but with the autographs, it would be worth.
I would put it more in the range of a collectible, about $1,000.
I understand.
A birdwalker bought an Audubon print showing two falcons with their prey for appraisal. There are several reproductions of Audubon prints, but the first way to recognize an original is that the birds are life-size, and the paper is the right size. Another way to tell an original Audubon print from a fake is to look for the Audubon watermark at the top right of the paper. This print also has the name John James Audubon, a title, and the name of the engraver, Robert Havel, at the bottom. Sometimes these prints were referred to as Havel editions because it was the first edition. The Havel edition was done between 1827 and 1838, and there were 435 prints of Audubon's work having a wide range of values. All Audubon's prints have the dramatic falcons and a scene, and can be as low as $2,000 and as much as $150,000. One thing that puts the value of this print down is the scene of the dead birds. Also, a bit of damage is noticed around the margins, so the plate numbers are not visible. Hence, if the dead birds weren't on it and it had the plate numbers, it would have sold for $60,000. But in its present condition, it would sell at an auction around.
If it's there, in an auction, this would probably go for about $12,000 to $14,000. If it's been trimmed, that would cut the value by 20, maybe 30%.
Sometimes the true value lies not in the painting, but in the frame that holds it.
And I received it from her before she died. I just always loved the carving in the frame.
This painting has adorned the guest's wall for around 5 or 6 years, inherited from an aunt. Focus, however, is on the intricately carved frame, a marvel with its detailed architecture and natural elements. The frame features a stunning perimeter with intricate features showcasing trees and architectural designs. While the painting itself is of lesser quality, the frame alone holds significant value. Replacing this painting with a suitable Cantonese export painting would enhance the frame's appeal further. The craftsmanship of the frame reflects a level of artistry that is rare and highly sought after. At auction, the value of this magnificent, intricately carved frame would be.
The value of the frame would be between $1,500 to $2,000.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
An unexpected find at an estate sale turns into a collector's dream with this southern jug. Acquired by the guests some years ago, this jug immediately captivated their attention. The jug features a classic alkaline glaze with a desirable drip pattern, characteristic of southern pottery.
It's this sort of greenish glaze to it.
Also featured on the piece is an incised line decoration of a classic ovoid form.
That was done while the piece was on the wheel before it was fired.
Collectors get excited about the visible drips in the glaze, which enhance its value. This jug is a handsome example of southern craftsmanship and pottery tradition. Its unique neck design further sets it apart from other southern jugs. A fine example of southern craftsmanship, coupled with its unique features, make this piece valued at.
I would ask somewhere between $1,800 and $2,200 for it.
Oh my goodness!
Every piece of art holds a story, and this vibrant creation is no exception.
And this piece here is actually part of a major contemporary art movement in Africa.
Purchased by the guest's grandmother in Cleveland, Ohio in 1981, this piece was acquired directly from the artist Joseph Olablade. The artwork depicts fishermen defying sacred laws by fishing in a forbidden river, leading to their blindness by the river spirit. Olablade is listed among notable African artists at the Smithsonian Institution. This piece belongs to the Ozugbo art movement in Nigeria, which began in 1962 and integrates traditional Yoruba theology.
But this movement gave artists a chance to come in and express themselves.
The artist uses an extraordinary technique, laying the piece flat and feeding beads from his mouth. This method gives the artwork a unique texture and vibrancy that is immediately captivating. Despite the current unstable market, this unique artwork could sell for.
In a gallery or at auction, I think you'd expect this to sell between $3,000 to $5,000.
Okay.
Which on your initial investment is $500 is pretty good.
Yes.
A friend's house was being cleared and treasures faced the trash bin. Our guests swooped in and rescued these dusty woven wonders. Believe it or not, these beauties are over 150 years old.
There are 3 textiles here. They represent 3 weaving traditions of the Southwest. So this is a Navajo woman's wearing blanket.
Wider stripes mark men's blankets, confirming this one a woman's. a smaller treasure in this child's blanket with a timeless design. The shawl belonged to a Pueblo woman of the Hopi tribe, made with natural wool and a special red dye. These stand out. The red dye hints at their age, all the way back to the 1870s. Unique designs feature 4 symbolic crosses.
You have indigo here. You have indigo also a different shade in the child's blanket. This whole panel here is also indigo.
A bit worn, but rich history make these pieces valuable. The women's blanket is of worth.
Retail value of between $4,500 and $5,500.
Wow.
The child's blanket, I would value this in the $3,500 to $4,500. I would value this in the range of $3,500 to $4,500.
I'm glad I saved it from the trash.
We are presented with clocks that the guest inherited from his grandparents. These clocks are products of the Ansonia Clock Company. This is a huge company known for producing hundreds of different models of clocks.
They were centered in Brooklyn, New York.
The Ansonia Clock Company was founded by Anson Phelps. Today, we have 2 examples of one of their more popular clocks. These clocks are referred to as swingers, and it's easy to see why they have that name. The first clock, introduced around 1880, is known to collectors as the tin can model.
And they were popular in shop windows because it caused the public passing by to slow down and take a look at such an unusual clock.
The other model was introduced later and features a sphere, popular in just 2 colors, green and blue. The base of these clocks are made of pot metal, which was a substitute for the more expensive bronze. In today's market, a clock like this, whether the old model or the newer one, with pot metal bases, would retail for.
In today's market, a clock like this would retail for between $2,500 and $3,000.
Wow, that's great.
Referred to as the workhorse by the guest's mother-in-law, it has been a cherished family possession for many years. Charles Schreivogel was a significant Western artist born in New York in 1861 to German immigrant parents. From a young age, he demonstrated remarkable artistic talent, leading patrons to fund his 3-year art studies in Munich. Upon returning, captivated by the West, he drew inspiration from Wild West shows until he could visit Colorado and Arizona. Schreivogel initially struggled to sell his Western-themed paintings and supported himself by creating portrait miniatures. His big break came in 1901, where one of his sculptures was acclaimed at the National Academy of Design in New York. Schreivogel, Remington's chief rival, was the leading Western painter from 1909 until he died in 1912. Given Schreivogel's rarity and desirability among Western art collectors, it is now valued at approximately
$75,000.
Wow.
A bronze sculpture titled Marching Tiger is signed by Antoine Louis Barne, a famous 19th century French sculptor.
Well, it's very clear because it's signed right over here, Barry, and it was Antoine Louis Barry, who was a very famous French sculptor.
Barne was famous for his 19th century animalia sculptures, specializing in animal depictions. This particular piece, which has been in the family for many years, was inherited by the guest from their grandfather. This sculpture features the F. Barbedienne foundry mark, a French foundry known for high-quality bronze productions, along with the FB in gold. This indicates that the piece was made shortly after Barne died in 1875. It was because Barbedienne acquired the reproduction rights in 1876. Those rights were later transferred to another foundry in 1892, firmly dating the sculpture to that period. Today, this marching tiger would have a retail value of approximately.
In today's market, a retail price on this would probably be about $10,000.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Pubic pottery, founded by Mrs. Stratton, is significant in Detroit's artistic history. Amassed from the 1930s to the 1960s, the collection began with the guest's mother, who frequently visited the pottery. Some pieces were made by Ira, a worker in the 1960s and husband of Ella Peters, Mrs. Stratton's longtime bookkeeper. Unique marks such as Elizabeth Christmas and Mr. Stratton's initials add to the collection's value.
A handmade piece by Miss Stratton's husband with incised decoration.
Renowned for its luster glazes, the collection includes typical and rare examples. a plate from around 1910, features individually decorated rabbits, unlike mass-produced pieces. Showcasing the diverse talent of pubic artists, the collection also includes a Mary Chase Perry watercolor. Overall, the collection's value is estimated to range from approximately.
So we'll start with the pin. Fun piece, easily between $500 and $750 for the pin. Candlestick holder, also between $500 and $750. The bunny rabbit plate about $1,500 is what they sell for. These prices, by the way, are what these would sell for at auction. I'd say that one about $1,250 to $1,750. I think you'd want one of these. This is really very special. I don't see this selling for any less than $2,000 to $3,000.
I am astounded.
You know, it's really a beautiful and an intelligent assortment you've put together.
Thank you very much.
A cowboy's tale in faded hues, where Seltzer's art finds value to muse. The guest talked about his great-aunt, Ella, who loved Western art, especially Remingtons and Russells. Since she couldn't afford those, she asked O.C. Seltzer to make a painting for her. The appraiser agreed that Seltzer did a great job. Even though Remington and Russell are the most famous Western artists, Ella had written a thank you note to Seltzer for the beautiful painting of a cowboy. Seltzer replied with a letter suggesting future subjects for his paintings. The appraiser explained that Seltzer's full name is Olaf Carl Seltzer, and he was originally from Copenhagen, Denmark.
And just to be clear, the artist is Olaf Carl Seltzer.
After his father died, Seltzer and his mother moved to Great Falls, Montana. He was already a talented artist in Copenhagen, but moving to Montana, where he worked as a cowboy, inspired his Western art. Charles Russell, a well-known artist, mentored and taught Seltzer. Seltzer even helped Russell with his work in New York in the 1920s. The appraiser described the painting as typical, showing a cowboy smoking next to his horse, and signed O.C. Seltzer. There was also a letter with a faded pencil sketch and watercolor, where it had faded because it was exposed to sunlight for years. Despite this, having both pieces together made them more valuable. While giving an auction price, the appraiser said,
Well, I would say at auction, and there's a lot of demand for Western art just now, this piece, I would estimate it probably in the $15,000 to $25,000 range.
Okay. The faded watercolor sketch was estimated to be worth $2,000 to $3,000. This guest brought onto the show his great-great-grandfather's slant-top desk.
I bought it out of my great-aunt's estate about 15, 16 years ago.
The piece of furniture is called a Chippendale figured walnut slant front desk made in Pennsylvania, circa 1760 to 1780. At the front of the piece, there's a candle drawer that, when pulled out, acts as a support for the slant front, which can be opened. On the interior part of this desk, we can see a beautiful prospect door adorned with a stylized shell design. Furthermore, we can discern sinuous curves on the drawer fronts and beautiful dividers on the pigeonholes. However, some restoration work has been done on the desk over the years, such as replacing the hinges.
Old hinges, exactly, and unfortunately, we don't see a corresponding patch on the fall lid. So I believe the lid is replaced.
Additionally, the handles on the drawers and the stand at the base have been replaced. Even though the desk has undergone some repairs, at auction, in its current condition, it would be.
I'd probably insure it for about $15,000 to $20,000. My knees started to tremble. I mean, it really is the most elaborate desk.
Oh.
We have a silver spoon on the show today. The guest inherited it from their grandfather's collection. Curiously, this piece may be less antique than it appears.
And as often happens in the world of antiques, a date on something may not be the date when it was originally made.
On the reverse side of the spoon, two marks are visible. One mark bears the name Gorham, a respected American manufacturer of silverware. The other mark, EP, means the spoon is electroplated. It appears the spoon is an electroplated version of a historic spoon in the New York Historical Society, gifted to Jabez Bowen by Rochambeau in 1780.
Here's the Rochambeau coat of arms on the top of it there. Rochambeau came to Newport, which of course had been closed by the British during the War of Independence.
Jean-Baptiste de Nation de Vimeur, Comte de Rochambeau, was a French nobleman and military officer who played a key role in the American Revolutionary War. Jabez Bowen was a prominent American colonial merchant, shipowner, and politician from Newport, Rhode Island.
And so Rochambeau presented him with this spoon and it's been a great historical piece in Newport ever since.
These commemorative spoons, made by Gorham, are now collectibles with an estimated auction value of
probably between $50 and $100.
It's not bad, I guess. I figure I had it on the front seat of my car coming up here, not knowing any value to it, so.
This set looks like it was presented as a symbol of loyalty to a royal family. It's a toilet set, completely made from shiny, radiant silver. The set was made in 1820 for those who were quite prominent in society. It consists of different parts, including a wash basin for ablutions. There are also 2 dresser-like soap boxes. A ravishing set of silver is what this rare set would be to many collectors.
And all of the pieces on the bottom have the same mark. And that mark is for a New York maker named Alcock and Allen.
This kind of set would have been given to folks during a special occasion. At a suitable auction, the radiant set of silver would retail for the price of.
You're probably looking at about $5,000 to $7,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty spectacular. Not something you see every day.
This ordinary piece of paper is perhaps one of the most important documents in America's history. It's a document that was signed by former President Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln was known to be a huge supporter of abolishing the slave trade, and this letter serves to that effect. The document was signed in 1862, at the peak of the slave trade in America. But a special story of this document is that it was before the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation.
And here Lincoln is appointing a commission, and your relative, he's one of a commission of 3 persons.
The document is special because it holds Lincoln's real signature. It's a true patriotic piece of writing, and one for the ages.
Of course, he became the greatest of politicians and presidents of this country because he freed the slaves eventually.
At a suitable auction, this legendary document would retail for the whopping price of.
This would bring $50,000 to $75,000. And I don't know whether that's a surprise or not.
It is a surprise.
Imagine having a look at some of the most confidential documents in America's history. Well, this archive contains a collection of documents from the Secret Service. More specifically, some parts of the document give an account of the head of Secret Service, John Wilkie. The archive is also special because it includes Wilkie's account of the assassination of President William McKinley. This is quite a rare account to see in just any archive and was highly protected information.
Here's one of them. I was stationed about 10 feet to the right of the president, and standing in front of the president, close to him, was a young fellow with a handkerchief in his hand.
There's ample proof to show that this is the real archive belonging to the Secret Service. It's important to note that some of the documents in this archive were addressed to Vice President Theodore Roosevelt as an important piece of history. This archive on today's auction market would retail at
Are worth at least, in the retail market, $5,000 to $10,000.
He bought this in a garage sale for $2. This bird's eye view of Ogden, Utah, highlights downtown and the street layout of Washington Heights. Ogden thrived, famed for railroads and diverse economy. Discover the unique sprawling park by Luther S. Foss.
1,200-acre residence park owned and planned and developed by the Federal Land and Mortgage Company, Luther S. Foss, General Manager.
Luther Foss, a Mormon from Idaho, settled in Ogden, managing a company that developed Washington Heights. Downtown mixed commercial buildings, churches, homes, framed by the Wasatch Mountains' natural beauty. In 1915, downtown Ogden boasted diverse architectural styles reflecting growth and prosperity. Capturing its historic architectural charm, the appraiser valued the item.
That it would probably be priced at about $1,200 to $1,400.
Pretty good investment. I don't know, it's a lot better now looking than it was before.
Her husband inherited this from her family. This parquetry birdcage, known for its intricate wooden inlay work. Every detail on it is intricately carved and made with different materials.
The carved finials and these little baubles hanging are bone to signify it is a bird cage.
It features exquisite inlaid details of a bird perched on a branch. Parquetry creates decorative patterns using wood veneer and brass in various colors and grains. The cage is striking, combining geometric and decorative elements as both a functional item and art. The structure is both functional and ornamental, serving as a beautiful home for birds and a decorative art piece. The item stood as a masterpiece of avian elegance, as the appraiser valued the item.
£15,000.
Gosh, good.
We don't often see a bird figure adorned with diamonds that exudes both royalty and elegance. The guest inherited this diamond piece as an heirloom passed down from his paternal grandfather.
And it was given to her by the Empress Eugenie.
The diamond is a royal brooch which was made in the 1840s for Eugenie de Montijo, a famous empress known for her influence on France's foreign affairs during the reign of her husband, Napoleon III. When we closely examine the diamond piece, we see it is intricately designed with inner gold and set in silver. Although it resembles an eagle, the design is inspired by a bird called the moho bird, which symbolizes change.
There's something much more exciting than just an eagle, and it may be a ho-ho bird.
This diamond piece is not only a royal jewelry, but also a wedding jewelry. Despite its age, this piece is in excellent condition. So, at auction, this diamond piece, with its vintage appearance and French royal matrimonial history, would sell for.
I have to give you something like £20,000 for it today.
20? Well.
We rarely see 2 volumes of books filled with unique watercolor paintings. The guest inherited these watercolor painting books. The items were acquired in the 1870s during a military campaign in the south of India by the guest's great-grandfather, Major General George White, a prominent British military officer who served in notable wars such as the Crimean War and the Indian Mutiny. As we flip through the pages of these volumes, we see intricate designs heavily inspired by Indian culture. This page in the volume showcases the spirituality of the Indians, where 2 individuals appear within smoke. Another page depicts clearly a fascinating scene of a dancer and 2 drummers, and we can see matching floral designs. These 2 volumes of books stand out because they remain in excellent condition despite their age.
Right the way through my grandfather's and in fact my father's lifetime.
At auction, these volumes of watercolor paintings, with their provenance and cultural history, could sell for.
My auction estimate would be between £50,000 and £80,000.
Oh, come on. Well, I said I'd buy the grandchildren an ice cream if they were more than £100.
What we have here is an astounding piece of sapphire ring, with more to it than what meets the eye. The guest acquired this item in 1975 at a jewelry store.
And I thought, I've got a little bit of money put by, and I'm going to treat myself.
This sapphire ring was made in the 1970s by prominent jewelry makers E. Wolf & Co., a famous British jewelry making company, founded in the 1850s. The ring features a natural yellow sapphire as its centerpiece. The oval-shaped sapphire hue is vibrant and reflects light beautifully. The gemstone is elegantly framed with brilliant cut diamonds. The band is made with high-quality white gold. The diamonds are set in a floral motif, creating an intricate design that complements the boldness of the yellow sapphire. Despite its age, the ring is in excellent condition. This ring is not only a remarkable piece of jewelry, but also a testament to fine craftsmanship and would sell for
£15,000 to £20,000 at auction. At auction. Ouch.
During the visit to London, the guest explored street markets and purchased 3 unusual pieces of jewelry. First identified was a Georgian ring from the 1750s featuring a carnelian intaglio with a detailed family crest, which made the ring stand out. The ring's shoulders were chased, engraved, and set with rose-cut diamonds. Inside it was decorated and engraved as well, showcasing typical characteristics of the Georgian era. It was in beautiful, almost unworn condition. Next discussed was a slide from around 1650, recognized as a Stuart crystal, which immediately caught the eye. The slide displayed faceted rock crystal with 3-dimensional enameled figures and a gold border, making it exquisite. Included within the slide was a Cupid figure. Lastly, the notable ring featured a detailed ship carving, crafted from ivory. Some pieces were as thin as a strand of hair. Despite some damage to the rigging, the ring looked stunning. Dating the ship to the 18th century added to its historical allure. The appraiser estimated the value of these jewelries at
This ring would bring approximately $4,500.
Oh my.
This slide would be about $6,500.
Oh, really?
And that one, I see at $7,500.
Oh my goodness.
Showcased on the show today is a movie director's clapperboard that was used in the production of the Jaws movie. The guest acquired the piece from her father, who was part of the production crew in the 1970s.
How did he end up with this particular clapper, though? Do you ever tell you any stories about that?
Yeah, I mean, he was friendly with the camera crew, and one of them gave it to him.
Another item displayed is a photograph of the guest's father with Bruce the shark. Interestingly, the movie Jaws from 1975 was a big summer blockbuster, and the movie catapulted Steven Spielberg to stardom. Spielberg is an American filmmaker and the most financially successful director in film history. This particular clapperboard was used to synchronize the audio with the film during the production process. What makes this piece different from conventional clapperboards is that it was spring-loaded to open and close like a shark's jaw. Given the success of the Jaws movie, this item from its production at auction would fetch a value of.
I put an auction estimate of $25,000 to $35,000 on it.
Wow. All right. Cool. That's awesome.
The guest brought onto the show an item that was gifted to her when she was 10 years old.
It was a gift from a wealthy friend of the family, yes.
Well,
it is a jade piece that originated from a ceremonial belt in China and was brought to the United States in the 19th century. Furthermore, the piece was commissioned to incorporate these jade pieces at the Edward Farmer Studio in New York.
Now, the other thing that's interesting is Edward Farmer was a major New York City designer, decorator, goldsmith. He worked in the Carlisle Hotel from the 20s through the 1940s.
Edward Farmer was an American artist, designer, and professor. He taught at the Graphics Art Department of Stanford University from 1923 to 1964. The white panels on the item are part of a Chinese belt, and on the two sides of this piece, we can see that they match. On the other two sides of the jade box, we can discern the shoe symbol, which stands for good luck. At the top of the item, there's an inlaid dragon panel, and the color and style of the jade suggest that it was made to be placed in a tomb. The piece is also adorned with 18-karat gold around its edges and 4 mandarin beads as legs for support. At auction, considering the interesting qualities of this piece and how perfectly it is preserved, it is estimated to be worth.
This is worth, I would say, between $80,000 and $125,000. It's a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
A hidden gem from Amsterdam's past, Van Munster's violin found at last. A guest shared an interesting story about a find in a friend's antique shop. While he was looking through the chest of drawers that caught his interest, he discovered a violin lying loose inside one of the drawers. There was no case, and the violin looked rather plain. Despite its modest appearance, he decided to purchase it separately from the chest for $500. This transaction took place in the 1970s, about 20 years before the appraisal. The appraiser praised the guest's keen eye, noting that many violins are misattributed or of little value. This violin, made by Van Munster in Amsterdam in 1671, was rare and retained its original label. Its unique serpentine F-holes and whalebone purfling confirmed its authenticity as classic Dutch craftsmanship. The Dutch used baleen whalebones for laminates and for the decorative inlay around the violin, which could be verified under a loupe. The violin also had a wonderful red varnish, typical of Dutch instruments, which often rivaled the quality of Italian makers. Another feature was the scroll, with a tiny volute atop a large head, further indicating its Amsterdam origins.
Also the scroll, this tiny little volute sitting on top of a very large head. Again, classic Amsterdam work.
The appraiser explained that 17th century Amsterdam was an economic and cultural center where makers had access to and were influenced by Italian instruments from Cremona, which they often copied. While estimating the price of the item, the appraiser said,
I'm going to say between $6,000 and $8,000.
A lot more than I thought.
Right.
This image of Mickey Mouse is quite a special one. It's a rare celluloid that shows an image of Mickey Mouse from his early years, specifically in 1940. Mickey Mouse started in 1928, so a celluloid like this represents a memorable piece. The celluloid was created for the Fantasia, released in 1940, which was an integration of 8 animated segments. Even though Mickey Mouse was owned by Walt Disney, Fantasia was conducted by Leopold Stokowski. The celluloid is truly a brilliant piece of animation art.
And this is classic Mickey Mouse. I mean, this is when people collect Mickey, they want a Mickey Sorcerer's Apprentice. That's all they think about.
Although the market for celluloids is not very active, this 1940s animation piece is still a rare find.
Pose, real important. If you notice here, Mickey has both eyes wide open. Right. That's a huge factor when it comes to valuing a piece like this.
At auction, as an early piece of animation, this celluloid would retail for the price of
between $9,000 and $12,000. At least it's a great piece. Wow. Really super piece. Well, and I'm glad you brought it down.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. I appreciate it.
This lamp is a magnificent piece of luxury. It's a rare lamp with a bronze base that was manufactured by Tiffany & Co. It was made in 1904, when lamps were the creme of the crop among the rich. A look at it reveals its many fine details, including the lead glass shade, which is made from luxury materials.
And a patinated bronze base that very pretty kind of Art Deco look.
One of the distinguishing features of the lamp is distinct patterns on it, which is pertinent of Tiffany lamps. Because Tiffany lamps are considered as luxury, this lamp is highly sought after by collectors. This lamp would be a great gift to a family member or a cherished lover. At a suitable auction, this beautifully patterned lamp would retail for the price of
$8,000 to $12,000, $10,000 to $15,000. So, not a bad gift.
Are you serious?
Aside from the fact that this metal piece is an expertly crafted piece of silver, it is quite special. This is because, 1, it contains an engraved portrait of the US founding father, James Madison. The medal is called an Indian Peace Medal, and it was given to tribal leaders in the early United States. As a founding father and former president, James Madison wanted to keep peace, and this helped solidify that. This medal was manufactured by the United States Mint in Philadelphia. It's important to note that these medals were given to chiefs who were considered highly important.
Designed by a German immigrant named John Reich, who was the assistant engraver of the U.S. Mint. He also designed a lot of very famous coins.
A medal like this one would symbolize the highest rank of honor.
Now, they were minted in 3 sizes, a 2-inch, a 2.5-inch, and a 3-inch. And they were given out in importance order, the 3-inch to the most important Indian chiefs.
At auction, this James Madison Indian Peace Medal would retail for
I would expect it to sell for between $20,000 and $30,000.
Wow. Wow.
With a blend of romance and history, this Famille Rose bowl tells a tale of antique elegance. The guest purchased this exquisite bowl for his wife, alongside 24 yellow roses from a Miami antiques dealer. This bowl, known as a Famille Rose or Rose Medallion, showcases a predominantly pink color palette introduced by Europeans in China around 1720.
And one of those colors was pink. And people don't realize it, but you don't get pink on Chinese porcelain prior to about 1720.
Created in the mid-19th century, the bowl features intricate enamel colors.
They would form the bowl first on a wheel in clay. After they let it dry in the air, they would then put it in the kiln, they would fire it, they would take it out, they would put these enamel colors with very skilled artisans that would paint the butterflies and the flowers.
The craftsmanship reflects traditional Chinese motifs, a testament to its high quality and historical significance. Originating from the port of Canton, these bowls were a favorable trade item and were even featured in the 1876 Philadelphia Exposition. Today, this bowl's value has significantly increased from its original purchase value. Transforming a birthday gift into a valuable artifact, this Famille Rose bowl is truly impressive, as it's now worth,
I would say, around $1,800 to $2,500 because it's a nice, large size. And I'm delighted you came today and shared this with everybody.
Thank you very much.
An old Civil War tintype photo. It carries some history from the past.
You're absolutely right. It is a Civil War tintype. The Civil War was really the first war where photography.
The guest received this tintype from a neighbor, an amateur archaeologist, and it has been stored away for years. This tintype, dating back to the Civil War, features Western federal soldiers, each with distinct uniforms and accessories.
Wow. Their clothing tells us that these guys are wearing a real mix of uniforms.
Among the soldiers, one is notably wearing an ID badge, a precursor to modern dog tags. The American flag in the background adds significant collector appeal to the image. Highlighted is the unique mix of uniforms and weapons, including a rare plant revolver. Such group images with characters usually fetch high prices among collectors, transforming a closet-kept artifact into a valuable piece of history. This tintype's value is now set at
approximately $1,000 to $1,200.
Wow. I sure thank you. That's very interesting. Thank you very much. Appreciate it a lot.
In the heart of the art world, this unexpected treasure emerges with a story to tell. This piece was acquired by our guest from a gallery in Baltimore back in the 1970s. It's an etching by Picasso, complete with his etched signature and the date, 1956. Picasso's signature, reversed in the printing process, is a hallmark of his work from the 1950s. The Collectors Guild, an American organization from the 1960s, later acquired the plate and the rights to print from it.
And the Collectors Guild was an outfit that was in operation in America in the 1960s primarily, and they were sort of like a Book of the Month club.
They made as many impressions as they could sell, ensuring the authenticity of the etching. This genuine Picasso etching, despite its later production, holds a significant retail value.
So therefore, this is a genuine original Picasso etching. It's just not done by Picasso anymore.
Transforming a gallery purchase into a valuable artifact. This etching's estimated value today stands at around
in the retail neighborhood of around $1,500.
Really?
So it's definitely appreciated.
Boy, I guess it has, hasn't it?
A Dome Nancy lamp, an exquisite piece of early 20th century art glass, has been cherished by a family for decades. This lamp is identified by its etched signature on the shade, reading Dome, Nancy, and France. The renowned Dome factory in Nancy, France, crafted it. Established in 1878 by Jean Dome, the factory gained fame as one of the world's premier decorative glassmakers. This recognition grew particularly after the death of Émile Gall in 1904. Featuring a beautiful mottled green to blue palette and hand-wrought supports, the lamp exemplifies the Art Deco style.
And then someone replaced the socket and rewired it.
I was wondering, we put a 15-watt bulb in it and use as a nightlight.
This beautiful and valuable piece of art glass not only adds elegance, but also carries a rich family history. In good condition and with legitimate Dome provenance, the lamp is valued at,
I would say retail, we're talking about $5,000 or $6,000 very easily.
All right, thank you very much.
Very good.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to see it. I'm glad you came in.
All right, thank you.
In 1971, a significant piece of porcelain was discovered in an antique shop. Years later, its historical value became apparent when it was recognized in a White House memento book given during tours. Memento's book indicated its similarity to porcelain used by President Franklin Pierce. Dating back to George Washington, there has been a tradition of US presidents and first ladies furnishing the White House with their porcelain. This connection to White House history enhances the item's value. Retaining the original receipt adds to its provenance and authenticity. Expected to attract considerable interest, this piece holds historical significance and resembles the Franklin Pierce porcelain. Reflecting both its rarity and connection to presidential history, current estimates place its value between
at least $2,000 and perhaps as much as $4,000.
This is a folk art swordfish's sword. Originally, it belonged to the guest's father, who received it as a present from someone working in the fire department. It's a presentation sword, made from a swordfish bill, which explains the large swordfish in the center. The sword features an incredible fire department scene.
Down here, where you see the pull fire engine, the two firemen, the scene in the background of the city scene.
It also showcases a city scene with firemen's hats, ladders, and axes. On top of that, the sword displays an American eagle flag and shield. Another fantastic feature is its wonderfully carved wooden handle.
Carved in the shape of two fish going round in a circle with a rope twist in between.
With no visible damages, you best believe that if this swordfish decorated sword with a carved wooden handle comes up for auction, it will have a worth of.
And I believe that if this was to come up to auction, this would probably bring somewhere in the $2,000 to $3,000 range.
Wow.
Found in the basement of the guest's mother's home, the item in question is an antique map of Missouri dating back to 1822. Printed by Henry Carey and Isaac Lear, the map is part of a geographical, statistical, and historical atlas of the world. This Missouri map engraved on a copper plate, was intricately printed in black and white and then hand-colored with watercolors. Notably, it lists Missouri's early governors, highlighting its significance as one of the state's earliest maps.
And how many governors? One.
Just one.
1820. He was governor of the territory, he was governor of the state at the beginning.
Carey and Lear were known for their optimistic views about the United States during a time of pessimism. Their atlas emphasized the abundance of land and the opportunities in America. Its survival is shown by a visible centerfold, marking it as once part of an atlas and adding to its authenticity. In today's antique map market, similar pieces typically fetch between.
It would sell anywhere between $600 and $700 on the antique map market today.
Great.
In 1999, a collection of African artifacts was purchased from an online dealer who provided elaborate descriptions for each item. Included in the collection are a Congo-style fly whisk, a Fang Bieri box figure, and a small mask believed to be a Bakuba. The fly whisk, considered a symbol of authority, was described as made of ivory with elephant hair. Closer inspections reveal even patination, indicating it is likely a mid-20th century reproduction made for sale. The Fang Bieri box shows exaggerated features and atypical shapes, indicating it was made for commercial purposes.
And in the meantime, they kept it in a hut and the figure guarded the ancestors' bones.
Instead of a child mask, the small mask is a Kuba box lid, identifiable by wear patterns on its nose and sides. This piece, stylistically unusual, likely dates back to the first half of the 20th century, possibly the 1920s or the 1930s, valued at $4,500 upon purchase, while unfortunately, the actual value is estimated to be between.
A piece like this is going to be in the $200 to $300 range. All authentic. Easily the group could be in the $50,000 to $60,000 range.
Here is a World War II era type A2 flight jacket belonging to John Burke, who served as a radio gunner on a B-17 bomber, cherished by Burke's family. The jacket features personalized decorations that make it a unique piece of folk art.
One of the more popular jackets that was worn by pilots and crew members. And what they'd like to do to them is decorate them and personalize them. It really became a piece of folk art.
This jacket's front is adorned with Burke's name, Johnny, and his wife's name, Mary. Alongside, there is the Century Bombers emblem, indicating his association with the 100th Bomb Group, a detailing painting of a B-17 aircraft named Easy Going, with records of bombing missions in Munich and Berlin is on the back. Despite a general decline in the market for such jackets, this piece stands out due to its well-preserved artwork. Ensuring its authenticity, the provenance is further solidified by a photograph of Burke wearing the jacket. With its remarkable history and in excellent condition, the jacket is valued at.
We're looking at maybe $3,000 to $4,000 today at auction.
Wow.
And it's just a great piece, and I'm really glad you brought it in.
Well, thank you.
At a quick glance, one would think that this item was a stone, but a closer look reveals that it's a whale's tooth. Whales are known to be the largest organisms in the world, which is why this tooth is this big. Because of the drawings on the tooth, this item is called a shrimshaw.
Battle scene with an American ship and a British ship and one sinking.
Shrimshaws are created by whalers and feature engravings done on bone. This particular one was done in 1850. An item like this is an important piece of folk art to many collectors, and at a suitable auction, this scrimshaw whale tooth would sell for.
In a good auction, that would probably bring $6,000 to $8,000.
Wow. Dang, thank you.
4 bronze sculptures were acquired by the guest, with 3 attributed to Charles Marion Russell and 1 to Frederick Remington. Upon examination, the Remington bust titled The Savage was determined to be a later casting. It was evident from its marble base and widespread availability in later years. Among the 3, Charles Marion Russell bronzes were 2 smaller pieces and 1 with an incorrectly spelled signature.
You can see right here and right here, and in fact all around. It's just not the base that we want to see with these.
Purportedly to evade copyright issues, it is a common practice with later castings. Their quality and finish indicated that they were not original works from Russell's lifetime, likely cast posthumously from the 1940s to the 1960s. Despite hopes for substantial worth, all bronzes were found to be later productions, significantly reducing their market value. Assessing the 4 bronze sculptures, determined to be later castings, suggested a total value in the range of.
I found similar examples with the incorrect spelling at auction, and they're bringing between about $300 and $500 at auction.
A glance at this material makes you think it's a rug, but it's a royal piece of clothing. This cloth piece, called a chief's robe, was worn by the chiefs of the Tarleton tribe. The Tarleton tribe is a group of people who are native to British Columbia. A robe like this was a symbol of elegance and respect among the tribe members. The robe was made in 1895 by Native Americans.
The white shell buttons typically reflect a notion of purity. These big square blocks are particularly elegant. One of the things I love about it is the way that the cloth has been pleated.
A look at the robe shows that the design concept behind it is quite complex. For a piece of clothing, this robe is in fabulous condition. As an important piece of tribal art, this chief's robe would retail for the price of.
This would be worth perhaps $8,500.